Okay, hello everybody. This is week 7 tutorial 6 recordings. In this tutorial we have 5 questions and we will go through them one by one. Question 1. Monopoly outcome versus perfect competition outcomes. Consider the market for hot dogs in a small city. Imagine that this market is a non-run competitive equilibrium with many hot dog stands in the city, each one selling the same kind of hot dog. Therefore, each vendor is a price taker and possesses no market power. So that's perfect competition. The following graph shows the demand and the supply curve in the market for hot dogs. Determine the size of consumer surplus, producer surplus, and perfectly competitive market. Place the red point on the graph to indicate the market price quantity that will result from perfect competition. Alright, so let's the orange line is supply, blue line is demand, and the intersection point is the market equivalent. The consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve, above the price. Producer surplus is the area above supply curve, below the price producer received. So that's perfect competitive outcome. Now assume that one of the hot dog stands successfully lobbies the city council to obtain the exclusive right to sell hot dogs within the city limits. This firm buys up all the rest of the hot dog stands in the city and operates as a monopoly. So this monopoly is due to the government policy. Assume that this change does not affect demand and that the new monopoly's marginal cost curve corresponds exactly to the supply curve of the previous graph. Under this assumption, the following graph shows demand marginal revenue, which is twice steeper than the demand curve, marginal costs. So now firms will produce the MR equal to MC, so which is the intersection point here. Charge your price, go from the quantity up to price at least. Charge your price $2.50. And consumer surplus is still the area below the demand curve, above the price consumer pay. Producer surplus is the area above the supply curve, the marginal cost curve, and below the price like producer receive. And if we compare this diagram with this diagram in terms of the size of consumer surplus and producer surplus, we see that there's an area here which is a loss of the society's welfare, deadweight lost. We call it deadweight lost. Okay, this is question 1. Consider the welfare effects when the industry operates under a perfectly competitive market versus a monopoly. So we draw the deadweight lost as here. In the following table, enter the price and quantity that will arise in the perfectly competitive market. Then enter the profit maximizing price and quantity that will be chosen if a monopolist control the market. Perfect competition, $1.50, 100. monopoly, $2.50, 60. Okay, this is question 2. Characteristic of oligopoly. An oligopoly market structure is distinguished by several characteristics, two of which are mutual interdependence and difficult entry. What are some other characteristics of this market? Check all that applies. Either similar or identical products. Market control by many small firms. No. The product can be either differentiated or identical. Similar but somewhat differentiated product only. Now the product can be identical. Market control by a few large firms. That's correct. So that's question 2. Let's go to question 3. Breakdown of a cartel agreement. Imagine that there's a town in which only two of the residents, Jack and Sunita, own wells that produce water safe for drinking. And imagine that Jack and Sunita can pump and sell as many waters as they want at no cost. So marginal cost of production is 0. From them, total revenue equals profit. Okay, the cost of production is 0. The following table shows the town's demand schedule for water. Imagine Jack and Sunita form a cartel and behave as a monopoly. Now the profit maximizing price is, so this total revenue is the total cost. This total revenue is the total profit. So let's choose the quantity such that total revenue is the highest, so which is 1200 liters, $3, charge price $3. As part of the cartel agreement, Jack and Sunita agrees to split production equally, which means the profit is split equally, so it's 1800 each. Imagine that Jack and Sunita have been successfully operating as a cartel. They each charge the monopoly price and they sell half of the monopoly quantity. Then one night before going to sleep, Jack says to himself, Sunita and I are the best friends anyway. If I increase my production to 200 liters, more than the cartel amount, I can increase my profit even though her profit goes down. I don't care. I will do that starting tomorrow. So now Jack decides to increase the production of water by 200 liters. So now the total quantity of water in the market will be 1400. So the price will drop to $2.50. $2.50. So given Sunita's and Jack's production level, profit becomes, so Jack now produce 800, so 800 multiplied by $2.50. So which is $2,000. Sunita's profit becomes 2.5 multiplied by 600. So which is 1500. And clearly Jack will do so because doing so will increase his profit from $1,800 to $2,000. Because Jack has deviated from the cartel agreement and increased his output of water to 200 liters more than the cartel amount. Sunita decides that she will also increase the production to 200 liters more than the cartel amount. So now the total market quantity will be 1600. So after Sunita increased the production, profit becomes 1600. So the price becomes $2. $2 multiplied by 800, so that's $1,600. Similarly, 1,600. Total profit is 3,200. So true or false? Based on the fact that both Jack and Sunita increased production from the initial cartel quantity, you know that the output effect was larger than the price effect, like at the quantity from each oligopolist's point of view. Yes, that's true, because otherwise they won't. Remember, the output effect increased the profit, the price effect decreased the profit, and they have incentive to do so to increase output. That means output effect must be bigger than the price effect. Jack and Sunita have each cheated on the cartel agreement and increased production by 200 liters more than the cartel amount. However, they both realized that if they continue to increase output beyond this amount, they will each suffer a decrease in profit. So to see this for yourself, consider Jack's profit when he produced 400 liters more than the cartel amount compared to his profit when he produced 200 liters more than the cartel amount. Okay, neither Jack nor Sunita has an incentive to follow increased output, nor does either have an incentive to decrease output. This outcome is an example of large equilibrium. Nobody, given the other players a strategy, nobody has incentive to deviate, and this is large equilibrium. Okay, that's question 3. Question 4. Game theory terminology. What illustrates a case in which individual rational behavior leads to a joint and efficient outcome? This is prisoner's dilemma. In prisoner's dilemma, not to confess is a better outcome that they cannot achieve. The dominant strategy equilibrium is confess and confess. What is a set of strategy in which each player's strategy is the best option for a player, given the chosen strategy of the player's opponents? A large equilibrium is a set of strategy in which each player's strategy is the best option for that player, given the opponent's one, so such that each player has no incentive to deviate. Okay, so that's question 4. Let's look at question 5. Solving for dominant strategy in the large equilibrium. Imagine Jack and Sunita are playing a game in which both must simultaneously choose the strategy head and tail. The table that follows shows the payoff each person will earn as a function of both of their choices. So that's the games. So the dominant strategy in this game is for what to choose what. Okay, let's check whether Jack has dominant strategy or not. So in order to check for Jack's dominant strategy, we are going to ask two questions. First question, we are going to say, if Sunita chooses head, what will Jack do? Clearly, if Sunita chooses head, Jack will choose head because his payoff will be 3. If he chooses tail, payoff will be just 2. Okay, so head. Second question we ask is, if Sunita chooses tail, what will Jack do? Jack will clearly choose tail. So because choosing tail gives him a payoff of 5 rather than 4. So now we conclude that Jack does not have a dominant strategy. Jack's optimal strategy based response depends on Sunita's strategy. Similarly, let's check for Sunita whether she has a dominant strategy or not. Again, we ask two questions. If Jack chooses head, what will Sunita do? Sunita will choose head because choosing head gives her payoff of 4 rather than 2. Second question we ask is, if Jack chooses tail, what will Sunita do? Sunita will choose tail. Okay, so tail is Sunita's dominant strategy. The unique large equilibrium in this game is as follows. Sunita chooses tail, Jack choose tail, and we can verify that given Sunita tail, Jack does not have incentive to deviate, and vice versa. Okay, so this, oh, okay, I'm making a mistake here. So Sunita's, let's do it one more time. So check for Sunita's strategy. So if Jack choosing head, Sunita will choosing head. Okay. So if Jack choosing tail, Sunita will choosing head. Sunita choosing head, and Sunita choosing head. Jack will choose head. Okay. So that's the large equilibrium. Okay. This is all about tutorial 6.